The first thing you need to remember about a shadow is always bigger than the reality. Fear is always greater than the actual problem. It's the fear that's enormous. Secondly, here's a good thing. Grab the person's hand next to you because they're not going to be able to handle this, so I need you to help them through this. Shadows can't hurt you. You've never been run over by the shadow of the truck. We're running from shadows that cannot hurt us. And then the third thing, Lord, help me get through this now. Help me get through this. I'm almost done. Okay. Shadows are always bigger than reality. Shadows can't hurt me. And Sister Ruffin, there's no shadow without a light somewhere. I went to class every now and then in school. When you're going through a dark valley, you think the sun has stopped shining. You think that God is dead and that you're all alone. You can't see at all, and you're thinking it's total darkness. But anytime there's a shadow, it means it's light somewhere. When you start to get afraid of the shadow in the dark valley of your life, turn your back on the shadow. And in the dark valley, turn your back on the shadow and look directly at the light, and the shadow falls behind you. See, you looking at the shadow, but if you turn your back on the shadow, you'll see the light. You looking at the shadow, but you got to turn your back on the shadow, and you'll see the light. You're looking at the shadow, but if you turn your back, you'll see the light. Every now and then life comes along, and I'm scared to death of the shadow, but God says, turn your back on the shadow and look at the light. And if you're looking at the light, you can't see the shadow because the shadow's behind you, it's beneath you, it's beyond you. Turn your back on the shadow. Somebody listen to me this morning. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you're going through. I just want you to know, turn your back on the shadow. That boy was laying on that field. All them folk around him. Everybody had an assignment. And his friends and his teammates, they blocked the view. So folk couldn't see him at his most vulnerable point. And they thought they were blocking the view from what the paramedics and the doctors were doing. But there was somebody else in the presence who nobody else could see. And they had their rhythm down. They were doing what they were taught to do. But somewhere I read that God can breathe life in the things that have been pronounced dead. Somebody remember Lazarus. They said, oh no, he's gone. And the report is that somewhere between that field and that hospital, that boy went over twice. But I serve a God who hears the power and the presence of the saints. And when the children of God got together, it began to pull at God's heart. And God breathed life where there was none. So when the doctors tried to get a report, they said, well, we really can't explain this because he's doing things on the second day that we normally don't look for to day 4 or 5. But when God gets involved, you can't hold God to days. Because a day, God moves when God moves. And it just show you how powerful God is. And I had to laugh because the boy's a typical athlete. He wakes up. His first question wasn't where his mama was. Wasn't where his daddy was. Did we win? Did we win the game? Now let me give a shout out to the doctor. Because the doctor came back with a theological answer and said, yes, You won the game of life. And that's what we're here for. I don't care what your condition is. When you wake up, you won over and over and over again.